Hi, Hamish Conway here, and you're about to listen to an interview I've done with Tim Malachar from Sheldon and Hammond. And Tim is representing brands such as Scanpan, Oxo, Victorinox, and many others. And he's very generous in what he shares about their success on Amazon. What have the steps been? Some of them are quite surprising, but also how Amazon ads has really helped them. So enjoy this episode. It's a cracker. Hi, Hamish Conway here, and welcome to another episode of TACOS Tuesday. And we're doing something a little bit different today and interviewing Tim Malachar from Sheldon and Hammond. And we've been working with Sheldon and Hammond for about the last 20 odd months, Tim. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you, Hamish. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, brilliant. Let's just find out a little bit about you. So kind of the high level, who are you and what's your role here at Sheldon and Hammond?
Well, I've been with Sheldon Hammond going on 8 years now. My role's changed. I initially was the travel gear brand manager. And then when Amazon came to Australia in late 2017, I was asked by Sandy whether I'd like to take on the Amazon account, which was what I did.
Yeah.
And 8 years later, we're still going strong. Amazon's a very different beast to what it was in 2017, but I'm sure we'll cover a lot of that in today's conversation.
Yeah, 100%. And so just to give people listening an idea of some of the brands that Sheldon and Hammond represents or is a distributor for.
Yeah, well, we've got, it's hard to keep track of the number, it does change, but it's upwards of 50 brands in our brand portfolio, generally in the homewares and houseware category. So brands such as Oxo, Scanpan, Global Knives, Bakemaster, Avanti, Victorinox are some of our key brands. But we're also branching out into the outdoor industry as well. And so the business is changing a lot and is making changes in the last 6 months or so. So I think the next year is going to be a very interesting period for Sheldon and Hammond.
Yeah. Fantastic. And just to kind of step back a little bit, people listening might notice the South African accent there. So how did you even end up being in Australia? Like what was your journey to end up in Australia?
Well, it's a bit of a mix. Definitely there's a South African element to my accent, but I was actually born in Zimbabwe. But university, I went to the University of Johannesburg and then lived in Zimbabwe for about 11 years until late 2010 when we immigrated to Australia. So we had a family business in Zimbabwe, went through the good and the bad times where the Zimbabwean dollar was worth something to where it was, let's say, $1 trillion to 1 to the US dollar.
Just hyperinflation.
Hyperinflation. I mean, at stages we were trading fuel or diesel for parts, where the money had no value at all. But I think that's a story probably for another time.
just bartering, amazing. So then obviously the move to Australia would have been, a big move, I guess. But but at the same time, almost a relief in some ways.
Yeah, I think a necessary move. I think especially for our family, obviously a much more stable country. We do miss Zimbabwe to a certain degree, but Australia is definitely now home. So really happy to be here.
Oh, amazing. Oh, that's good. Excellent. So let's, just for people listening, because when you say you've got 50 brands, so how is it that Sheldon and Hammond has come to have so many brands? Like what's the kind of backstory?
Well, I think Sheldon Hammond's 90 years old this year. So it's a company that's been in the industry for a very long time. Our management team is also very well known. They've got a really good reputation in the homewares industry, but also built up many relationships over the years. So I think a lot of brands have come to us through relationships, but they also know that Sheldon Hammond's going to do a great job once we have the brand in our portfolio. We've got a very strong sales team, but that sales team is backed by a great marketing team, a great graphics team. We've also got a really strong social media team. So we can cover all bases in terms of aspects required by a company to launch a brand successfully.
Yeah, fantastic. Linked to that there, obviously, this podcast more about Amazon. We'll get to that. But what are the other channels that you're selling through? Primarily?
Primarily, obviously, a wholesaler. So we sell direct to retailers, but we also do B2B. We have corporate sales as well, which is a growing part of our offering. And then direct to consumer, most of our brands have their own website. So we don't compete with retailers, but it's somewhere where customers can go and see the full range of products within a brand, which most stores are not able to hold each product within a brand's offering.
That's right. And also where people research, right? Depending on they're maybe not going to research a peeler, but maybe if it's around high-end cooking product, then they want to do some research. So you've got that. And then obviously the Amazon side of things. Now, you also said that you started selling on Amazon in 2017. So Amazon started late 2017, and I remember at the time they were just going out to distributors like yourselves that had thousands of SKUs and just going, right, just throw all those SKUs up there, because they were being rewarded on how many SKUs they could get up. And
correct.
And so it was a bit of a funny start. Like I remember there was this initial kind of excitement, but Amazon was pretty below the radar. It was a soft launch, you could say, because they knew they just had to get the selection, and it would take a little bit of time to build up to get customers coming and shopping and get their fulfillment set up. So you're underway there. When did things kind of start to move on the channel? When did it become obvious that this could really be something in Australia?
I would say it probably took at least a year. I mean, the initial focus, like you said, was just they wanted as many products as we could list. They weren't too worried about the images that we could provide. It was more about just getting the listings up. I think we could see the potential there, and our management team did speak to a lot of other contacts in other markets that had experience with Amazon. So we knew to try and take it slow. We knew certain things that we needed to keep an eye on in terms of pricing, what their Amazon expectations were going to be in terms of rebates and that sort of thing. So we had some sort of information, but I think we didn't realize how big a player Amazon would become in the years following.
Yeah. It was kind of really the pandemic, right? That noticeable step change, that things start to move on. So as we look at today, like how does Amazon fit into your overall mix of sales, and why is it important to you?
Look, they're a growing customer of ours. I think their distribution mix is growing year on year. And they are certainly an important customer for us. It's a place, like we said, where we can list all brands, all products within reason, and also gives us access to our new customers who don't know about our brands. They've got 5.5 million Prime members at this stage. So they're a force in the retail space. So we definitely want to be there. Yeah, but we want to do it the right way.
Yeah, that's right. And it is, as things have really continued to shift, even compounding the last couple of years, and the Prime membership really getting up, and same day delivery, next day delivery, there is, more and more people realizing that this is a channel that I can buy things on and trust. The Amazon flywheel is kind of kicking in. And yeah, as you say, though, it is striking this balance and doing it in the right way. And because you do get this halo effect, right? Like you talked before about new to brand customers that haven't seen you. They might buy on Amazon, or it could be next time they're in a retail store that they see the brand and go, I saw that there, and then there's an affinity to it. And it works the other way as well, doesn't it? People will see it in store, then they see it online, and it's like the brand awareness play kind of can lift all channels. Exactly. Is that what you've kind of noticed as well?
Definitely. And I think as Amazon's grown, it's like you said, we mentioned it earlier, that people, came to our website to research products. But I think Amazon itself is becoming a bit of a platform where people can go search for products, do their research, look at the reviews, and then make a positive purchasing decision when they are ready to push the button.
Yeah, 100%. So the Amazon, they do like to have their price matching side of things, which is pretty frustrating. But so how do you manage this tension between traditional retail and Amazon? Like, how do you play that?
Look, it's a tricky area, and I don't think there's a perfect solution. We obviously have a method here where we determine what Amazon's pricing is going to be. And the main theory is that we want our retailers, our traditional retailers, to remain competitive, but also allow Amazon to make the margin they need to sell the product at a realistic price point so that it's viable for everybody. if it's not working for if it's got to be viable for Sheldon Hammond, it's got to be viable for Amazon, but our traditional retailers still need to be competitive.
Yeah, 100%. And this is where, it's so important that you start the right way.
Correct.
And you're aware of everything that Amazon is going to want and all their accruals. And
it seems to be endless.
Endless. They'll always have a go. But as you say, like this challenge of making it work for you but still having it be viable for Amazon and not interfering with your retailers. And maybe we might, at the end, we'll just have some quick tips there on negotiating with Amazon.
Sounds
Could be good. So what, we kind of touched on a little bit, but what has been the best part about selling on Amazon for your brands?
I think where Amazon's pretty unique is you can build a brand story for customers on their platform. Whether that's through the product listings, the images that you upload, they've got the A+ content where you can add additional information, but also you're able to build brand stores or essentially brand website on the Amazon platform, which is important for new customers to the brand, where they can go and see what the brand's all about, see what the brand can offer, and then make that purchasing decision once they, trust the brand or are happy with the product that they're looking to buy, and then buy it through a trusted retailer through Amazon and get it the next day, which I think is pretty amazing.
Yeah, because for you, if you were to just with your own D2C, probably hard to replicate. Hard to replicate the delivery piece.
Correct.
And getting it into the hands of the consumer that quickly.
Yeah. Our system is, as we said, pretty much a wholesale distribution model.
Yeah.
Our warehouse is not set up for next day delivery, and at the same time, we don't want to compete with our retailers. Yeah. Wholesaling is our business.
Yeah. No, that's good. This is another thing you touched on there is just the Amazon has so many options there from a brand point of view that you can tell that story and the product listings on the storefront there, which is compared to any other marketplaces, one big advantage. And then the trust, right? You got people trust the delivery now, people trust the reviews.
Correct.
And that's and the customer service, that if they need a refund, they know that that's all really easy because that's what Amazon does. So you kind of piggyback on that to have Amazon be your key D2C channel.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, and I think they've got, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, they've got over 5 million Prime membership customers. So it's obviously a model that's working for them, and they're here to stay. They've got new warehouses for fulfillment centers popping up all the time. So I think it's changed the retail landscape in Australia.
100%. And it hasn't even really hit the up part of the exponential curve. I think it's going to be interesting. So look, we started working with you about 20 months ago. And so what had you consider working with an agency in the first place?
I think the first time we considered it is when we had your video pop up in our email box. Look, we knew we needed help, but we didn't know what that looked like. And after having a conversation with yourself, we could see areas where you could add value. And to be honest, it was the best move we've made. It's taken a lot of pressure off us as a business. We can focus on the aspects of Amazon that we're good at and leave the advertising and other aspects that your team can bring through their experience. And together, that's been a really good mix for us. As you can see in the results that we've achieved, not only the last 20 months, but probably more in the last 12 months where we've really stepped it up.
Yeah. And so, for context for people listening, what are you happy to share some of those sort of results?
Look, I could share some of the results. For example, in the last 12 months, we've seen 45% increase in ad sales, which is really significant. And that's resulted in approximately a 35% increase in total sales. So, we're very happy with those results. And we've got strategies and plans in place, which we've developed with your team to hopefully keep that going for the next 12 months as well.
Yeah. 100%. And so you've been touching on ads, and TACOS Tuesday is all about ads.
It is.
So what have you noticed about from advertising on Amazon? What positive impacts have come? Obviously, you talked about sales, but what else have you noticed?
I think through Seb and the team, we've been able to target the right customers. We've seen a reduction in wasted spend. So the money we are spending is going to the right people. So we're getting better results in terms of clicks, in terms of orders. When we were doing it ourselves, one, we had limited knowledge on how the ads were working. And I think initially we were getting away with it because it was such a new system in place. Whereas now the competition has really stepped up. It's something that you need someone looking at every day, especially in the lead up to a prime event where you probably need someone reviewing the budgets every couple of hours. So we're confident that with you guys on our side, that we've got someone who's got our best interests at heart, who's looking after the budgets, and we'll get the best results that we can for the money that we're spending during that period.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, so it's the combination of the brand advertising, and then also the targeting the new to brand customers to get those buyers coming in, or people to stick with the brand and buy again, and even new products that come out, getting them to rank.
Yeah, for sure. But, we've had successful launches. I mean, we do have some tools in our pocket that we through Amazon, such as the Born to Run program.
Yeah.
But that's only one side of launching the brand. You've still got to advertise it correctly, ensure that you get the sales. So that's where we have obviously that teamwork with the South Global team in terms of making those launches successful. Yeah. And then getting the Amazon system to order it ongoing.
Yeah, well, that's as a vendor, that's important,
that's
right?
The key, yeah.
To keep the purchase orders rolling in at the right levels. It was something else you were touching on there around as the competition comes in. And actually, funny, before we were just looking, and even Amazon Basics was popping up, putting in OXO, and then Amazon Basics was coming on the kitchen. Buggers. Anyway, I was at an Amazon Ads event yesterday, and talking to some people from Amazon Ads, and even some other people in the game, and the conversation was, look, still in Australia, there's a real lack of understanding about Amazon Ads and the benefits to the brands. Yeah. And in some cases, people are just not taking it seriously. But with the competition that does, well, if you're listening and you're not advertising properly, you have competition that is, and they are eating your lunch, right?
Oh, for sure.
And so you've got it's this game of protecting your patch, brand protection, but then also the conquest, right? You want to be getting those new to brand customers or people in the category search there. But it's, if you sit back and don't do this properly, the competition's coming.
Yeah, I think it'll be detrimental to your brand and your position. I think you always said right from the beginning, you want to be in there early to cement your position and get those organic rankings going as much as you can. And then hopefully at the end of the day, you're spending less to maintain that position.
Yeah.
But it's always harder to knock somebody off rather than get that position first and then maintain it.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the plan.
That's right. You got to stake your claim, and now's the time. It's not going to get any cheaper.
No, so we've seen. I think even in the last 6 months, the competition's really stepped up, and it's becoming more expensive to hold a position.
Yeah. But now's the time to do that. Okay. So look, switching gears a little bit here, but we talked about other channels. But how else do you engage with your customers or potential customers to get them used to the brand?
Look, we, for example, in March this year, we participated in the Melbourne International Coffee Expo in Melbourne. So that was for one of our brands. It's just one way to, again, introduce your brand to new customers, introduce new products to existing customers, and also just be at the forefront of that customer experience so that when they are looking for example, a coffee product, one of your brands might be first to mind that they're looking at. But we also have, again, we mentioned a little bit earlier, the brand websites. So that's something that we work on constantly.
In the social media side?
Yes, social media. We've got a full social media team. So we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok.
Yeah.
Basically, we're everywhere as much as possible.
That's good. And actually, out of interest, do you take any learnings from your social platforms and bring them into Amazon at all? Like, from customer feedback or?
Oh, Definitely. I think customer feedback is obviously something we take seriously, negative and positive. And we learn from that and hopefully improve the product or improve the customer experience.
Yeah. In terms of some of that feedback, do you get new product ideas or new brand ideas that might come out of that?
Oh, yeah. Look, I think we do. I'm not involved in a lot of that side of the business, but that's certainly where a lot of that inspiration comes from. The team travels overseas a number of times a year, looking at new products, new trends, and obviously inspiration for new products within our own home brands as well.
Yeah. And that's key, right? For a 90-year-old company, and even before looking at the OXO peeler that was developed in 1990, 35 years ago, there is this, you've got the legacy brands and brand loyalty that's there, but you've also got to be innovative, right? And
yeah, I mean, new is always an important discussion topic whenever we have trade fairs. You've got to have new, but then, like you said, you've got to have the legacy products as well, which that's what keeps the brand going. In the long term.
Yeah, I like it. All right, some quick fire questions, Tim.
Sure.
Your top tip or tips for negotiating with Amazon retail?
I think top tip would be never say yes to the first offering. I think it's always negotiable. And what we've learned is when discussing with other customers in this market and others, there's a variety of pricing that Amazon will offer you for the same tool or service. So never say yes. On the first one, it's always negotiable, and do your best to get it at a price that works for you as a company.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. What about like events or where they go, right, that's home and kitchen week, like what do you think about the effectiveness of some of those bigger?
Look, this is purely from what our own personal experience. We find the tier 1 events are the ones to participate in, and that works for us as a company.
Yeah.
Some of the other promotions we find dilute the bigger promotions. So that's why we participate in the tier 1 only. And then make sure that during the rest of the year, our advertising is running as efficiently as possible, and we're constantly improving our listings. So it's small incremental changes that we make every day that compound, and that in 6 months or 12 months have made a significant impact to our results.
Yeah, that's such an important call because, for you with thousands of products, right? It's a massive job. And I know you've now got an in-house photographer making some videos.
That's
You've
right.
got Pia who's helping as well. And just that, it's all those micro improvements do compound up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that Atomic Habits. I heard about that book yesterday. I read it, but it's like small changes compound.
Yeah.
And you look back and go, actually, that all really contributed to the change. And I think that for kind of bigger, more established companies, this is one to really focus on because, and this was discussed yesterday as well, around brand content is typically on Australia. It's still not good enough for a lot of brands, and they're resting on their laurels on the brands, on the loyalty, but it leaves the door wide open for challenger brands to come in, and Amazon will allow challenger brands to come in and take that spot if they're doing a better customer experience in the shopping.
Yeah, Amazon, there are some challenging aspects. Cross-border selling is a major problem. But I think we are at the stage where you wouldn't want to list a product unless you have all the assets ready to go.
Yeah,
I think we could get away with it initially, but now I think you would probably do more harm than good if you listed something without having the 5 images, having the right product information, ensuring that your product listing is as close to perfect as it needs to be.
That's right. Yeah, you've got that initial, like as soon as it's live, you've got that first month to kind of a grace period there to show the algorithm what it's got. Yep. And then you're away, and that's so important. I like it. What about your top tip for efficiency and cost savings with Amazon retail?
Again, and this might be unique to our business. I think one of the things we've learned is have a really good look at how you sell your product to Amazon. Is it going to work as selling it individually, or do you need to sell it in a master carton, or perhaps in a pallet quantity for your top moving lines. We found that the efficiency savings through our warehouse and also time to deliver can be quite key in some of the KPIs that Amazon is measuring you on as a supplier.
Yeah, 100%. And just constantly looking for ways to do that better. Because again, you talked about micro changes on the content side. It's the same with this efficiency, isn't it? So always looking, and even shortages, just are they being followed through? What about your top tip for growing sales on Amazon?
Well, obviously work with Sell Global to be my top tip. I think the top tip with success on Amazon is having the right tools in place. So have the right people to obviously do your advertising, which is a key part of the success on Amazon, but also have the right tools in place within your company where you can make the changes needed, whether those are incremental or major changes for product launches. Because generally, if you do a bad job at launching a product on Amazon, it's an expensive fix if you can fix it.
Good call. So look, what's coming? We're halfway at the time of recording this, halfway through the year. How quickly the year is going, but what's coming up next, and what are you looking forward to the rest of the year?
Well, we've got some exciting new brands coming to Sheldon Hammond. Probably too early to say what those are, but those are brands that we'll be looking to list before the end of the year. So really looking forward to that. And then also working with a team within Sheldon Hammond, but also with Sell Global in what our strategy looks like for the next 6 months. Obviously, a key part of that is Black Friday, Cyber Monday promotions. And then
Prime Day,
yes, the second Prime Day.
week or two.
Coming up in a week. And then making sure that we achieve the goals that we set out to achieve earlier this year.
Yeah, 100%. It's good. I'm looking forward to playing golf at Esquith Golf Club with you.
Yes, we've been promising to make that happen.
Come springtime. That'll be good. And look, just one last one. Look, is there anything else you think would be valuable for those listening that we haven't covered?
I think keep listening to TACOS Tuesday. There's a wealth of information that you are sharing with everybody. I know Pierre and myself have learned a lot from your team and continually learning. I think that's the nice thing about Amazon is that it is changing all the time, but you have to keep up with the changes. So I think educate yourself and make Amazon a fun experience rather than a stressful one.
Yeah, 100%. Look, Tim, you've been super generous there, and with all your responses, and I'm sure people listening will have taken a bunch of notes there and or just parked away a lot of those ideas. And so thank you so much. Really do appreciate it.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
All the best. And so thanks for tuning in to TACOS Tuesday, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you.